Whale watchers in the San Juan Islands tell us the Navy may have spooked a pod of killer whales.
What happened on a new destroyer sent the whales into a frenzy. KOMO 4's Joe Furia explains the mystery.
You can hear what's believed to be sonar in this home video taken by whale researcher Ken Balcom from his home in Friday Harbor. You can also see orcas startled by the sound. Marine biologist Anna Hall says she could clearly hear the sonar from the deck of her whale watching boat near the pod. She described the orcas as confused.
They were moving from beginning to go north, and then they would turn to south, and then again north. They couldn't make up their minds which direction to go.
The Navy admits the guided missile destroyer USS Shoup tested its sonar in the San Juans on Monday. That may not be a violation of Navy policy, but whale experts tell us the Navy should have known better because some consider this local orca family, J-pod, to be endangered.
We don't think the Navy's out to get orcas. I think they're doing their job. I think they made a mistake. And what we're saying now is, okay, we'll forgive you for that mistake. Let's try not to make it again.
There have been similar incidents in the past. 3 years ago, 16 rare beaked whales, like belugas, beached themselves in the Bahamas. 7 died. Autopsies showed severe trauma and bleeding around their inner ears. At that time, the Navy was nearby using sonar to hunt submarines. Sonar has long been suspected of harming whales, at the least disorienting them. Though local researchers admit there's no way to know what effect, if any, Monday's incident will have on our local orca family.
We won't know for a while. We may never know if it really truly created damage. We know, though, how they behaved once that sound was introduced, and they freaked out.
Late this afternoon, a Navy spokesperson told us they are looking into the incident. In Seattle, Joe Furia, KOMO 4 News.
It is 18 after 8. Now, environmentalists say local orca whales are being threatened by the U.S. Navy. They blame the Navy's use of active sonar. Here's Q13's John Yeager to explain.
The Center for Whale Research says it happened 10 a.m. Monday morning in the waters off San Juan Island. That's when Ken Balcom began videotaping.
The whole thing was like, how could they do this?
Ken Balcom says what you see here are orca whales clinging to the shore instead of spreading out and feeding as they normally do. He blames a U.S. Navy destroyer using an intense type of sonar meant for detecting enemy subs. He recorded the sound. That's what you're hearing now.
We had porpoises that were streaking out of the area, a minke whale just going for miles as fast as it could trying to get out. Everything was leaving the area. Except J-pod, they seemed to be just hugging the shore. And then when the ship came closest to them, it was like they didn't know how to get out of that sound field. They couldn't get out of it.
He says the sonar came from the destroyer USS Shoup, which is based in Everett with the USS Abraham Lincoln, though he says it had nothing to do with the Lincoln's arrival Tuesday.
This was practice. And that's what we told them years ago, was that you can't kill whales for practice.
In fact, environmental groups have sued the Navy to stop sonar use that they say killed whales, like 7 that washed up in the Bahamas in 2000. One Navy source tells Q13 sound in the water is a huge issue for the Navy, but the official response to this incident, the Navy says we're looking into it. The Navy also tells Q13 there's no law against the use of active sonar in the San Juans.
I don't think we need to be questioning whether or not they have an impact. The question is, what can they do to bring to the table to mitigate their impact and to help elevate our understanding of the marine environment?
And experts say anything that affects a whale's hearing hurts its ability to hunt. Orca numbers locally are down 20% since 1995. John Yeager, Q13 News.
John, thank you. Joining us now to talk more about this is Fred Falleman from the Orca Conservancy. Fred, first of all, since the Navy sort of responded, what would you like them to do? Let me ask you that at this point.
Well, the whole principle behind Homeland Security these days is to push our borders offshore. So there really is no reason for them to be conducting these sort of high-intensity sounds in the inshore waters where the formations of the straits act as echo chambers on the marine life.
So do you think once the Navy actually understands what's going on here and understands that it can work with you on this, that will be the result?
Well, I would hope that, certainly since this was just practice, that there's no reason to practice like this inshore, but I would think that they can do far more and actually contribute to our understanding of whales and other marine life, offshore, inshore, all around, because the Navy has the best toys in the planet to do that.
Sure.
And we have the University of Hawaii, University of Scripps University, Woods Hole University have great relationships with the Navy, University of Washington, Friday Harbor Labs. We have a great potential to develop a strong marine ecosystem study, and the Navy could be an essential part of that. They could also be a part of the conservation movement. They have the best tugboats on the planet.
Sure.
We could station those out at Nia Bay. But we could do all sorts of things with the Navy. They just have to be told, rather than being exempted from the environmental laws like they're trying to do, our Congress folks need to tell them they need to be part of the solution.
Sure, that makes sense. You can all work together in this in a positive way. Well, Fred, good luck with that ongoing conversation with the U.S. Navy. Thanks for joining us, Fred Felleman, Orca Conservancy. Let's go to Walter Kelly.
Tonight, new possible evidence of Northwest sea life being harmed by Navy sonar. Q13's Denise Ducano has the latest developments. Denise.
Mark, in the same area where we showed you whales apparently confused by sonar from a nearby ship, porpoises have now washed up dead. Whale researchers say there's not much chance it's a coincidence. This is what it sounded like when the Everett-based USS Shoup passed San Juan Island a week ago. Whale researchers say the high-pitched sonar can hurt marine mammals, even kill them. And that's what they fear happened in the case of a half-dozen porpoises found dead in and around the Strait of Juan de Fuca.
We have Dall's porpoise and harbor porpoises that are washing up dead all around the beaches. And yeah, it could be a coincidence. Most likely not.
You're looking at one of the porpoises that washed up in an area where Navy sonar was recently tested. Environmentalists are suing the government to stop the tests, which they say have harmed wildlife elsewhere too.
They make a massive explosion of sound underwater, which is the loudest man-made sounds ever created.
When researchers caught the high-pitched sound on this videotape May 5th, they spotted orcas from the J-pod swimming abnormally close to shore. The Navy does not deny using the sonar, but will only say it's still looking into the incident. Necropsies are planned in Seattle and Friday Harbor over the next 2 weeks. This as researchers closely watch a bill in Congress that could exempt the Navy from the Marine Mammal Act. Leslie?
Mystery at sea. Our naval sonar tests hurting dolphins and killer whales.
From ABC News World Headquarters in New York, this is World News Tonight, Saturday.
Good evening, I'm Bob Woodruff. Today, Morocco's largest still ahead on World News Tonight this Saturday. Trouble underwater for dolphins and killer whales. Is the Navy to blame?
This is World News Tonight, Saturday.
And when we return, is the Navy's sonar testing hurting dolphins and whales? Serious questions are being raised tonight about whether sonar testing by the Navy is injuring underwater life, especially dolphins and killer whales. ABC's Neil Karlinski reports from the San Juan Islands in Washington State.
Whale watchers off the San Juan Islands say the piercing underwater sound was so loud they could hear it from their boats. Witnesses captured it on home video. They soon noticed killer whales behaving strangely and bunching near the shoreline. Off camera, they saw porpoises leaping from the water. In the distance, a Navy destroyer, the USS Shoup.
What we had here was, I think, the whales showing a tremendous sense of disorientation.
The Navy confirms the Shoup was using what it calls mid-frequency sonar at the time as part of a training exercise. The sonar sweep ended when small boat operators began to call in complaints. Since the May 5th incident, the National Marine Fisheries Service says at least a half-dozen dead harbor porpoises have washed ashore in the area. Biologists are suspicious because of the timing and location. 3 years ago, 16 whales and 2 dolphins beached themselves in the Bahamas during a Navy test involving mid-frequency sonar. Scientists found bleeding around the brains and ear bones consistent with exposure to loud noise.
We know that this kind of sonar interferes with critical life functions of whales. We know that it can injure them and even kill them. It's like dying from a very, very intense migraine headache.
Navy officials insist there is no evidence to support a link between the USS Shoup and the beached porpoises.
We don't think that we're injuring these animals, certainly not with sonar.
But in this case, biologists say there was no question the sonar was irritating. They hope to determine in the coming weeks if it was actually deadly. Neil Karlinski, ABC News, Seattle.